If you know you want to be a coach but have no clue what niche, what path do you go down, then this is the video for you. In this video, we are going to break down how to choose the best coaching niche using a simple, easy to follow framework. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Chris Barrett. I've helped coaches sell over $10 million. And today we're going to talk about picking your coaching niche. So diving into it, one thing I do want to mention, make sure to stick around because at the end I'm going to talk about the number one biggest mistake that coaches make that actually keeps them stuck in indecision and not really getting any results or success. Or truthfully, the problem and thing that you have to consider is not only is it the fact of choosing the wrong niche that maybe you don't like, that you don't love, that you don't come to enjoy, but number two, you might choose a niche that can't even make money. So make sure you stick around and I'll walk through all of that today. So the first thing that you want to do, and I'm going to come in here and share my iPad screen, we're going to break these things down, guys, is you want to start with your story/experience. And so a lot of people, when they go ahead and start thinking about, oh, I want to be a coach, they're like, oh, do I do this? Do I do that? What is it? Ultimately, you just have to think about, what are you qualified to do? What have you gone through? What can you provide that is of value to other people? Whether it be literally like getting a job, whether it be specific job experience, whether it be life experience, right? So all of these are things that even though they may seem nominal to you, they may not seem super exciting or like coach worthy. Honestly, when you have to think about a coach, all that it really is that a person, a client, you can call it a prospect, currently is right here, down here at the bottom, and I'll call it now. And then up here is where their goal is. And the problem is right now that there's this gap in between where they are now and where they want to be. Can they go ahead and figure it out themselves? Yes. Truthfully, most people don't go ahead and figure it out themselves because the people had all the tools that they needed, the information, the accountability, the determination. They would have already done these things. And even another way that I think is helpful to go ahead and explain it, guys, is imagine it's like a stair step. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different stairs that they need to put in place in order to go from where they are now to their goal. Ultimately, as we're looking at this, they may have stairs 1, 2, and 3, and they might have stair 5, but the problem is they don't even realize that stair number 4 is missing in their equation. They're not going to go ahead and get to their goal unless they have number 4 as a part of that too. And you as a coach, what you're doing is you're just coming and giving these people these stairs, these puzzle pieces, another analogy that I'll go ahead and use. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have as much experience, I'm not as that. That's fine. You don't need to go ahead and promise people the world. If you have done something and you have experience and knowledge of how to do it, and you're just simply offering other people like, hey, I have achieved this goal. I have been able to stay in this job for this amount of time. Hey, I have a good, happy, loving marriage, and I'm going to teach other people how to do it. Hey, I'm good at getting on dates. Hey, I'm good at losing weight. Whatever it is, it doesn't need to be this big, grandiose thing. I speak to a lot of coaches, and one of the biggest fears that they have is, I'm not qualified enough. There's other people that are more qualified. Why should I do this? I want you to think about, like, even me and my business. Are there other people that are probably higher level than me as of this moment in business? Yeah, there are. People that have been doing business for, let's say, 50 years, older than I am. Yeah, they're going to have a ton of knowledge and experience, but does that mean that I can't provide value? No, I know that I can provide value, and I know I can provide some clarity to people, and I can ultimately get people to their goal. When you're going and picking your coaching, don't get this feeling of, oh no, I'm not going to be good enough. I don't like this. I don't think I can do it. Get all those limiting beliefs out of your head. You need to first figure out what is it that you actually have experience with, because I can tell you that there's some coaches that come to me and they're like, oh, I want to coach in this, but they've never done it before. I'm like, oh, have you done it? What experience? Oh no, I just learned it online. You can do it, but I would recommend going with something you've actually done, you've experienced, that you can speak to and actually feel confident in that. Step number 1, start with your story and your experience. Understand that all you're doing as a coach is taking someone from where they are now to where they want to be, their goal, and giving them the stair steps. What have you accomplished? What is the goal? And then how can you help people that are at some point to then go ahead and get to that next step? We're going to talk about that more in a moment. But that's step number 1. Start with, what experience do you have? What's your story? How can you help people at a high level? And there could be multiple ones. The thing I can also tell you guys, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, there could be multiple things that you want to coach on. How do you go ahead and figure out which one of these you possibly want to go ahead and do? We're going to talk about a couple of the other ones here in a moment. One of the biggest ones is, are you willing to do this for a longer term? Is it something you actually want to commit to? Are you passionate about it? Could you be excited doing this for the next 5 years? Could you be excited doing it for the next 10 years? If you say no, then I would sit back and question, okay, then why are you doing it? Is it just a quick cash grab? Sure, if you want, but if you really want to be successful and build a proper coaching business, probably I'd recommend dedicating it for the longer term. Anyway, I could go down many different rabbit holes. Number one, start with your story and experience, and that's kind of what we'll build upon from there. So moving on to step number 2, now that you've been able to identify your story, your experience, you then want to clarify and skills. Okay, so it's kind of getting more into this analogy of now and then getting to the goal, right? So inside of this, what are people coming to you naturally for? You have some of these things that you're wanting to do, even if people don't come to you naturally. Maybe you're just not surrounded by people. What topics can I talk about for hours without getting bored, as I kind of even mentioned to you on that side of that last one? Moving on to step number 2, now that you've been able to identify your story, your experience, you then want to clarify and skills. Okay, so we've identified your experience, we've identified your story, and this is kind of getting more into this analogy of now and then getting to the goal. Inside of this, what are people coming to you naturally for? You have some of these things that you're wanting to do, even if people don't come to you naturally. Maybe you're not surrounded by people. What topics can I talk about for hours without getting bored, as I even mentioned to you on that side of that last one? What's something that you could actually see yourself doing for years, not just a little bit of time and then go out? Another thing is, what have you studied? What have you practiced? What have you taught for years? What are things that you're passionate about doing? Because here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that talk about you don't need to be passionate about your business in order to make money. It is true. I don't think that there are some people out there that have construction businesses, people that have cement businesses, people that have certain businesses. And I just don't think that not all of them are passionate about it. They do it probably for the money. The thing I can tell you though is that when you have your business and you're passionate about it and you really enjoy it, coming to it every single day, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be aspects of the business that you're not going to enjoy. But if overall you're passionate about it, it becomes a lot easier to go ahead and do more work and all of that. When it comes to that, we've identified talking about your experience and shortlisting some things of what you could do to teach other people. But then now you need to come down to your strengths, skills, and I'd even call your passion. You don't need to do this, but I can tell you it makes everything a lot more enjoyable, and therefore it makes it easier for you to actually do it for a longer term instead of you grudgingly getting up and doing some of these things. What's something that you could actually see yourself doing for years, not just a little bit of time and then go out, right? Another thing is, what have you studied? What have you practiced? What have you taught for years? What are those things that you're passionate about doing, right? Because here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that talk about you don't need to be passionate about your business in order to make money. It is true. I don't think that there are some people out there that have construction businesses, people that have cement businesses, people that have certain businesses. And I don't think that not all of them are passionate about it. They do it for the money. The thing I can tell you though is that when you have your business and you're passionate about it and you really enjoy it, coming to it every single day, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be aspects of the business that you're not going to enjoy. But if overall you're passionate about it, it becomes a lot easier to go ahead and do more work and all of that. So when it comes to that, we've identified talking about your experience and kind of shortlisting some things of what you could do to teach other people. But then now you need to come down to your strengths, skills, and I'd even call like your passion. And you don't need to do this, but I can tell you it makes everything a lot more enjoyable, and therefore it makes it easier for you to actually do it for a longer term instead of you grudgingly getting up and doing some of these things, right? So that is part number 2. We've identified a short list of your skills and experience and your story. We've then talked about what are the specific strengths, skills, things that people come to you naturally for. What can you talk about hours for? What have you practiced? What have you studied? Is this something you're actually willing to do for a long time, and are you actually confident in guiding people? So that is part number 2. We've identified a short list of your skills and experience and your story. We've then talked about what are the specific strengths, skills, things that people come to you naturally for. What can you talk about hours for? What have you practiced? What have you studied? Is this something you're willing to do for a long time, and are you confident in guiding people? And not necessarily on the fact because you're the greatest ever in it, but can you take someone from where they are now into their goal of where they want to be? Okay. So in the beginning, we started with a longer list. So moving on to step number 2, now that you've been able to identify your story, your experience, you then want to clarify and skills. Okay. So it's kind of getting more into this analogy of now and then getting to the goal, right? So inside of this, what are people coming to you naturally for? You have some of these things that you're wanting to do, even if people don't come to you naturally. Maybe you're just not surrounded by people. What topics can I talk about for hours without getting bored? As I kind of even mentioned to you on that side of that last one. Okay, the term that I have here on the side is identifying the market demand. What that means is, is there enough demand for this? There's a rule of thumb that I can tell you. If you're looking to make only $100,000 a year, nearly anything you do, you can go ahead and find something. Not every single thing, but I can tell you nearly anything. There are enough people out there that probably want what you have, regardless of how niche it sounds. That's just the first thing. But if you're wanting to go ahead and grow even bigger, this is where this especially will come in handy, number one. And the second thing also to consider is how easy is it to go ahead and get money, to get traction, to get progress, and all of that. What do I mean by it? A great analogy that Warren Buffett actually uses is, what type of boat are you in? If you are in a boat that is going downriver, it is all sturdy, you have a motor in the back, it's going to be much easier to go from where you are now to where you want to be inside of that scenario in that boat. Now, let's say scenario 2 is a boat that has holes all in it. You only have oars. It's wooden, it's really heavy, you're fighting against the current. What you're doing is you're trying to paddle, and then you're trying to fill a bucket with water and get the bucket of the water out so the boat doesn't sink. That's necessarily a great scenario. That's also why you want to look at market validation, market demand, to go and see, are you fighting against the current, or are you inside of a better scenario and situation that can be there? What I would recommend doing is use stuff like simple Google searches. I would use ChatGPT searches as well. Inside of the Google searches, I would just go through and start figuring out, like, okay, I would start looking up questions that your ideal client, like this person up here, right? Because obviously, like, when you're talking about coaching someone, right, you're going to coach someone who has a problem, like they're somewhere right now, and then they're looking to get up here. So the person that's looking to go from these stages and looking to identify these things in the middle, what are the things that they're going to be looking up on Google? You start doing Google searches. Another kind of little things I have here are Facebook groups. You have Reddit. You can go ahead and look at YouTube comments. You have a whole slew of different things that you can do, because you're also looking to figure out what are people struggling with right now. That's one. I'd say through Google, through ChatGPT, also look for other competitors. Imagine that you were a person looking for this coaching, and start figuring out what are the things that are out there. Do people look like they're actually making money? These are just things that are helpful in regards to validating the idea, number one, and even understanding the marketing positioning, understanding the offer positioning, understanding the sales positioning, a lot of stuff. It gives you a lot of inspiration in order to do that, okay? One thing that came to mind that I think is helpful as we kind of go along, right? We've talked about a couple of things, guys. We've talked about your story and experience. We've talked about getting clear on your strengths and skills, and then talking about market validation. Coming back into this right here, one thing that through speaking to coaches that I have found very helpful in just getting them to the next step is the person that you are often most qualified to help is the person who you used to be, whether it be 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so as you're making this decision on what you want to do, how can you craft your program, your niche, all of these things around the person that you used to be? Because I can tell you, let's say you are a weight loss coach and you're looking to go ahead and help people lose weight or whatever it is, okay? Let's go ahead and get rid of some of these circles. If you were, let's call it 50 pounds overweight, and you now got it to where you're only 10 pounds overweight or whatever it is, you gain some valuable insights. You gain some valuable skills that got you from 50 pounds overweight to 10 pounds overweight. Yeah, it's not like you may be getting all jacked and you're teaching other people how to do that. But I can tell you there's value behind teaching people how to do that. And you just simply are documenting your steps and helping other people go through that same process that you did in order to go from 50 pounds overweight to 10 pounds overweight, as an example, right? So I know we've been going for a little while, so I'm going to begin to start wrapping things up, okay? So once again, story and experience, clarify your strengths, skills, and passions, get some market validation. If you're seeing absolutely nothing and nobody's asking those questions or nobody's wanting help with that, then maybe one of two things. You're either looking in the wrong place, or there's maybe not as much demand for what you're coaching on. Maybe so start looking in other places, start figuring out, and start talking to people too, like even talking inside of different community chats, whether it be on school, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on Reddit, all of those things. It's very helpful in order to do. One thing actually I'll even mention right now, in the description below, I have a free school community. So if you guys are wanting to take this further than just a YouTube video, then go ahead and click the link below. go ahead and sign up for our free community, and you can like start throwing ideas like, hey, here's my coaching niche, here's what I'm thinking of, and we'll bounce ideas off of. We have thousands of coaches in there as of this time we're recording, like over 1,000 people, not thousands, over 1,000. Okay. So moving on to number 4 from there. So once we've identified, in the very beginning, your story and experience, strengths and skills, passion, market validation. One thing I will mention, guys, I'm repetitive for a reason. People be like, oh, why do you repeat all these things? I'm repetitive for a reason because when you start looking into the different ways to study, the different ways to make sure you actually get comprehension, repetition is one of the most important things. So I keep doing that to make sure that it's just crystal clear to you guys, okay? Some people get annoyed by it, but I'm just doing it because that's what's going to serve you in actually getting this done. Okay, the next thing you want to do is actually talk about your specific outcome. Okay, like what are you actually going to get for people? So a lot of people are like, oh, I help people in health, or I help people lose weight. Lose weight is more kind of a specific outcome, but sometimes people are like really generic in what they want to do. And so whenever you're talking about like what type of coaching you're going to do, you want to make sure you get really clear. What is that goal that you are going to help the person achieve? Because when you do that, it becomes a lot easier for the other person to understand and actually determine what that is, right? And so instead of, I have an example here, okay? So instead of I help people live their best life, you could say something like, oh, I help moms lose 20 pounds without giving up wine. It gets really clear and specific, and you're talking to the right person. We'll also need to talk about ideal client, which I'll mention in a second, okay? But that's one example, okay? So instead of I help people live their best life or improve their life, another one, hey, I help coaches go from 5K a month to 30K a month using paid ads. Cool. Another one, I help burned out nurses quit drinking and feel alive again. So the more clear that you can get on your specific outcome, the better it is. Because if you're really vague, you're going to fall into the bucket of everyone else, versus you want to make sure it's specific. You want to make sure it's clear and that the value is there so that other people can also understand that. Okay? So specific outcome, get clear, not get clean. Get clean too. If you're not clean, make sure you handle that. So that is part number 2. We've identified a short list of your skills and experience and your story. We've then talked about what are the specific strengths, skills, things that people come to you naturally for. What can you talk about hours for? What have you practiced? What have you studied? Is this something you're willing to do for a long time and are confident in guiding people? And not necessarily in the fact because you're the greatest ever in it, but can you take someone from where they are now into their goal of where they actually want to be? Okay. So in the beginning, we started with a longer list. Then as we get into step number 2, we've now kind of started to pare that thing down. And now we're getting into step number 3, which is actual validation. You can essentially call this market validation. So moving on to step number 2, now that you've been able to identify your story, your experience, you then want to clarify and skills. Okay. So it's kind of getting more into this analogy of now and then getting to the goal, right? So inside of this, what are people coming to you naturally for? You have some of these things that you're wanting to do, even if people don't come to you naturally. Maybe you're just not surrounded by people. What topics can I talk about for hours without getting bored? As I kind of even mentioned to you on that side of that last one. What's something that you could actually see yourself doing for years, not just a little bit of time and then go out, right? Another thing is, what have you studied? What have you practiced? What have you taught for years? What are those things that you're passionate about doing, right? Because here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that talk about you don't need to be passionate about your business in order to make money. It is true. I don't think that there are some people out there that have construction businesses, people that have cement businesses, people that have certain businesses. And I don't think that not all of them are passionate about it. They do it for the money. And you don't need to do this, but I can tell you it makes everything a lot more enjoyable, and therefore it makes it easier for you to actually do it for a longer term instead of you grudgingly getting up and doing some of these things, right? So that is part number 2. We've identified a short list of your skills and experience and your story. We've then talked about what are the specific strengths, skills, things that people come to you naturally for. What can you talk about hours for? What have you practiced? What have you studied? Is this something you're actually willing to do for a long time and are actually confident in guiding people? Moving on to number 5, guys. Once you have identified all of these different things, what your experience is, what your story is, making your short list, taking your strengths, your skills, and your passion, starting to whittle that down. Then going into actual market validation, whittling it down. And then from there, at this point, you should really have the one that you're looking for. You then choose your specific outcome. Now, what you need to do is you need to commit. What do I mean by that? Like I mentioned to you, anything that you guys do, especially when it comes to making a new business, it's simple, but it's not easy. And so as you're looking at this, you need to pick one and you need to commit to it. Because what a lot of people do is there's this process right here where it is uninformed optimism. So you don't know about the difficulties and everything, and then you keep going from there. Let's call it stages of awareness, because I want to make sure I get this fully right for you. Uninformed optimism. I'm pulling up the video. I'm looking for this here. Cool. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and do it too. So you have the uninformed optimism, and then down here you have informed pessimism. Down here you have the valley of despair. Then now you have informed optimism. And then here you have everything's great. I'm just going to put a smiley face. And so what the problem that many coaches end up doing is that they start here, oh yeah, weight loss coaching is going to be great, or relationship coaching is going to be great, yeah, let's do it. And then you start doing, oh wow, this is tough. And then you get down here, oh my goodness, I have so much that I need to learn and this and that. I need to build all of this and that and everything. And so what people do is they typically start right here, then they get down here like, oh, this is too difficult. So then what they decide to do is they then go ahead and like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and go pick the next topic. Health coaching doesn't work. I need to get into relationship coaching. And then they go again. And then they keep going in this cycle over and over and over and over again. And they never end up getting results. And so, as I mentioned to you, how can you pick something that you're willing to do for a longer duration of time and then commit to it? We've talked about doing your research up here inside of market validation. We've identified something that you have strength, that you have skills, and that you're passionate about, that you are qualified, you have experience in doing. Ultimately, you need to pick something and commit to it. Because I can tell you, things have a tendency to take longer to accomplish and typically cost more money than what we think they're going to take in order to achieve something. And so coming back to it, those are some of the biggest things that I would essentially recommend for you to go ahead and do. And that's ultimately my last point. I have one last thing, because I know I told you I'd tell you the one biggest mistake that many coaches face. So coming back to it and recapping, I know I've done it many times, guys. Start with your story and experience, pick that. Then move into your strengths, your skills, your passions, move into market validation, make sure you get a clear, specific outcome, and then commit to it and do it and seek to get better. If you follow these 5 simple steps inside of this framework, you will get clear on your coaching process. And now, number 1, because some of you guys may be thinking this, hence the reason why, it is the number 1 biggest mistake. And for all of you guys that stuck around to the end, you guys are the one that's going to go ahead and reap this reward. The number 1 biggest mistake is that people want perfect clarity before they start taking action. You're never going to have perfect clarity. It's not always going to make sense. It's not always going to be exactly understood. You need to start taking action. And the term that I go ahead and use with the people we work with is imperfect action. That's what you need to go ahead and do. Because I can tell you that there's so many coaches that I come across that they spend months, years doing this process that I just went ahead and walked through with you guys right now. These 5 steps. It doesn't need to take a long time. You can truthfully do this in a couple days, in a week, in a month maximum. Even if you are limited on time, it doesn't really take that long to go through and start listing out your experience, to start doing all of these things. And so that's the biggest mistake that so many coaches make, is they wait for the perfect moment. Oh, right now is not a good time. Oh, the market isn't good. Oh, no, the economy is bad. Oh, I'm really busy right now. Just get started, guys. If you are going through and you're like, oh, right now is a really busy time in my life. Okay, I could understand that. But if you want to do this, there's going to be a busy time again in your life in the future. Does that mean you're going to stop doing your business when life gets busy again? No. Focus on little by little, taking action, little, and then continue to move on to the next step. So, everyone, these are all of the steps that you should be taking in order to identify your coaching niche and which one is the best for you. If you did like this video, please make sure to drop a like. If you'd like to see more of it, subscribe. But I can tell you this right here is part 1. We obviously need to identify what you're coaching on, what your niche is, and what that looks like. Now from there, we then need to identify, okay, well, how do we identify the ideal client? How do we do the offer? How do we start getting leads? How do we start getting sales? There's a lot of steps that come after that. And so in order to make that easier for you guys, what I decided to do is I put together a video that outlines exactly the next step that comes after you've identified your coaching niche. If you go ahead and you click right here, this is a full step-by-step breakdown video in the same way I did here, so that you can start getting some clients and start getting everything rolling inside of your coaching business. If you're interested in making this coaching business a reality and starting moving forward in that, click this video right here and watch it now.